Yeah, good morning. How are you this morning? Yeah, I hope you guys have been doing well. Yeah, there is kind of good news and bad news, and yeah, I read some articles about COVID, and then yeah, still we are threatened by the COVID variant. So yeah, yeah, someone got the vaccine, but still, yeah, infected by COVID. So I don't know how it goes in the future, but still, yeah, the best way is that we gotta be careful and take care of ourselves. And then, yeah, last night, usually I don't go out during the weekend. Yeah, but yesterday I went to mall to buy something, but a lot of people are there, and then still, yeah, families and friends are coming out, and then they have something. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, for a long time, yeah, we've been kind of locked, yeah, because of the COVID. So it's very good, but still, you guys be careful. And yeah, a lot of people are still scared of the side effect of vaccine and side effect of the COVID infection. So I don't know. Yeah, so I hope, yeah, so you guys, yeah, take it very well. And but I don't know. So how was your weekend? But I had such a good time. I drove down to San Diego. Oof, I it's a it's kind of hard. Yeah, it was kind of hard. And then I never taken like 2.5 to in the entrance of the San Diego. I didn't go into the downtown San Diego, but 2.5 hours. Wow. So I barely made, actually, I come, 30 minutes late for my schedule, but still I had, such a good time with my longtime friend. Yeah, so I hope you guys have really uh, kind of try to be creative to mental yourself, and then keep it up. Yeah, so I hope, yeah. Anyway, yeah, try to stay healthy, and yeah. Today we're gonna go over the second part of the early modern church's missions. Yeah, we last week we did, um, how kind of the Christianity is expanded to Scandinavian area, and then we went over kind of so how the what is it, Russia and the what is it, Eastern Asia, the part, Eastern Europe. So how they kind of not the Scandinavia. Scandinavia is before, the Russia and Eastern Europe, and then other China and Indonesia, India, like this area. Yeah, we learned that. We went over the how the Christianity is kind of spread to the regions, countries, and just to keep that in mind, what happened during the times, a lot of political regions and religious regions, and then economic regions. Yeah, that's why with the kind of atmospheres, and then Christianity kind of spread very fast to the other countries. Can you see the pictures? And then that is a kind of a lot of European countries try to extend their power. So kind of studied imperialism and studied colonialism, and then for their benefit and property, and there is kind of a movement. They had a lot of come force of the black people to migrate to other countries, right? It's just slavery. Studied and very active to provide the labors, right? So you can see these countries, and then light green And there's kind of Spain area. A lot of the Spain is here. They travel all the way down, and then they kind of control these regions, right? And there's the France. France control this region, and yeah. That's kind of shows how the people are kind of control the area with their power. So with their one Christianity, it's a kind of with their movement, the Christianity went a long way, right? So really, it's good for the countries, but they kind of got the influence from the Western countries, but still they lost a lot of their resources and labors. Kind of they controlled by the other countries. So it's kind of a sad part, but they kind of open their eyes to the different world, because the Westerners and brings a lot of different things, right? Yeah. Look at this kind of okay, let's see the next slide. This gives you more detailed information. So around 1500, there's a green areas kind of the Christianity, right? And Egypt and Western Europe and Russia, and then Ethiopia, and then South India. So Saint Thomas Christians, and there's most areas that Christianity, but the other part of this area is kind of Muslim ruled the area, right? So it's not a big area at the time, so kind of in the beginning, so with the Roman Empire, they kind of kind of spread quickly over the area, but later on there is kind of a Muslim is kind of give birth, and then they have kind of power struggling, and then the Christianity lost a lot of countries, and since 600, 700, 7 centuries, 8 centuries, and then Muslim controls took over the area and controlled a lot of the countries that used to be Christianity, right? In Christianity. So you can see that around 1700 is like a early modern era. So Spain and Portuguese, they travel, explore, find the new land, and then explore and extend their power. And then look at this, and this area is kind of by Spain, and then this Brazil is kind of controlled by Portuguese, but still Catholic churches. This is France, and this area is kind of Spain and Portuguese, and then influenced by Spain and Portuguese, so they become Catholic countries, right? That one is kind of Russia is different, right? The Eastern Europe, and then try to reach out there when they got influenced by the Orthodox Christians, right? This area in China still, it's like Marco Polo, Mateo Rich and other, the the monks or bishops went there and then they tried to implant Christianity, right? And then the end of the year, around maybe a couple thousand people are there. So some say it's 100,000, and there's already Christians, there. But around that time, look at this India still, south part of India, and then still because of the missionaries' activities, and then there's influence, Christianity is kind of established, at the time. So Philippines and Japan, and so already kind of set the kind of boundary of the Christianity. Look at this, and then nowadays it's kind of, we're gonna go over and then whole this country is Catholic, right? This whole area is Catholic, covers this area. And then this part is kind of covered by the influence, under influence of the what? And the Christianity, but the northern Africa is influenced by influenced by the Muslims, Islams, and then they have controlled by Muslim and Arabic area, peninsular and all this area, and right? India is around this area is a kind of new religion is there, and then not new religion, and there is Buddhism. Hinduism is kind of here. It's maybe longer than the Christianity, but there's still here is there, right? And then Buddhism kind of influenced all Korea and China and Japan, right? But at the time, still it gives some influence, and then try kind of Christianity is kind of delivered to the countries, but they are minorities still. Even though a lot of the missionaries and the monks and the missionaries try to use the political power, so when they go to other country, and then they kind of made contact, kind of relationship with the political leaders, and then try to kind of take advantage of the relationship and try to get the benefit from them, and then teach or preach the gospel. But still wherever you go, and but still there is attempts, and there is a little Christians there, but still majority is kind of majority are in the kind of native religions, and they have their own stuff, right? That is a kind of 17th century that we went over. So today we're gonna see the first part, and we learned about how Catholic tried to take Catholic took over their kind of mission activity. They are the one who disseminated the Christianity during in the first part, right? But later on, after Reformation, around the 1571, and then what? Around the 1700, and then from that time, finally some Christians, and then not the Christians, the Protestant, after Reformation, they called the Protestant, right? Protestants came out and then started to do missions, and then after later of the modern come this era, and then next year, and then 18th and 900s and 20s, and then also so really actively get involved in missions by Protestants. So today we're gonna go over how Protestant kind of started their missions, right? Look at the kind of the situation at the time, atmosphere, why the Protestant couldn't engage in mission very well. They are, I already told you, they are really focused on the kind of go back to scripture and then interpret and interpreted the text right, and they try to go back to original of the text, right? Because as time went by, and then some doctrines added, and then some things kind of new. It's kind of a lot of things are twisted, and then once the religion kind of had kind of with the state Christendom, and then become a Christendom, and then it's easy to keep the what is originality, the pure religion. You know, if we went back to, if we go back to the dark ages, and then they would not keep their power, they would not control it, more power, more wealth, and then they did a lot of different things, right? I know they made dogmas and doctrines based on from the Bible, but some things went too much, and then what? Because of that one, people are suffered by the dogmas and doctrines, right? It's kind of out of the originality of the religion. That's the kind of situation, and then people came out and look at the Bible, and then no, it's not right. If you do that, it's not right. Let's go back to the Bible, and let's just see what Bible said. That's kind of Protestant. That's why they resisted the Catholic Church. They call the Protestant, right? Protestant, and they kind of resist, and then they try to dig out the Bible more, and then it's kind of draw the new, not new, but draw the new the doctrine based on which is based on the Bible, right? So one of the big differences is what how can we save the Catholic Church, and then you gotta believe Jesus Christ, right? But on the top of that, you gotta work hard. You have to do good. They will not count if you do bad, and then you gotta do good things. Kind of for that, you need to work, right? But what is a Protestant, and then and after kind of Luther and Calvin, and they said, no, we need only faith. So we are saved by faith. That's the Protestants. But the Catholic Church is that we are saved by faith and work. We need to work, show the work, right? It's kind of a different things, because they really emphasize the work, and then they try to compensate their sins, and they work hard for that one. But think about humans kind of nature, and we cannot we cannot never make up for what we had done, right? Because we do everything, every day different things, and we fail to do what Bible said. They really focus on the interpreting the Bible, and they try to preach teach the Bible, right? They put all the energies into the kind of renew the churches, and kind of try to church revive through the preaching, right? Teaching. They don't have a kind of they cannot stretch out. They couldn't stretch out their ability to the other countries. That's why they cannot do the missions at the time. So another thing is that just think about the Catholic churches, how they traveled to the other countries. You know, they have a kind of ships. They have scales and travel they follow the oceans, and just how it start from the just the Western countries and kind of they have peninsular, they are peninsular countries, and then next to the what? Portuguese and Spain, and next to the sea, right? And they have a really knowledge of knowledge of how to travel by ship, right? The Protestant, they don't have a kind of transportation law. Just think about if you travel to other countries here, you either walk, it just takes a long. But they used to sea route, right? They do all the way this way. But Protestant, they don't have the kind of power, transportation power, right? Another kind of limitation is what? At the time, around the European countries, they have a lot of fightings, wars among them. So one of the religious wars, and one of them is a 30 years war, it's 1618 and 1648. That is kind of among the countries, they fight each other. Just think about during the wartime, it's hard to travel the countries, across the country and to go to different country. It's not easy. That's a kind of a limit. They are limited. And just think about it. And a lot of at that time kind of moved to Catholic to the Protestant rule in European countries like Luther's in Germany and Germany and Switzerland and around a lot of European countries have turned to Protestant. It's not like France, they remain in Catholic, but Spain is kind of remain in Portugal and remain, but a lot of countries like and British and they are turned to Protestant. It means that they really focus on the renewed churches, right? And kind of restructure churches. They are really focused on that one. That's the times European countries really kind of turn to Protestant. And just think about it at the time. We they had got out of from the Catholic Church and they don't have a missionary sending structure. How can we send a missionary and how can we support them? How can we let them to survive in the mission field? They don't have a kind of a structure. But just think about the Catholic churches, right? At the times, a lot of monks and they acknowledge by the kind of and churches, and they got an order, acknowledged by the church, and then they build official, kind of organization, like Franciscan and Dominicans and Augustinians, all they are, right? And sometimes the bishop and churches send them to countries because of the political reasons. Sometimes there is a power game there and whatever, and then they send the missionaries. So sometimes really with the true motivation of mission to preach the gospel, they send out the missionaries and churches support them and all kind of structure, what Catholic used, the Protestant didn't have a kind of infrastructure. Okay, at that time it's kind of the atmosphere, and then the Protestant churches in that kind of situation. So kind of excuse to that's the excuse is that the Protestant cannot do could not do the mission at that time. But let's see how they moving the kind of mission in in Protestant churches. It's not that many, but still there is a moving, right? Let's see the North America. By the time, just think about a lot of people came from the England and other country and they settled us here, right? And they're still influenced by the what? England, right? And around the time, in what is an Anglican church in British, England, and then what? They formed the Protestant Mission Society in 1701. And they wanted to evangelize kind of Native Americans and African slaves in the American colonies. At the time, America was a colony, right? They were not independent from the power of the British. Just think about it, and so I know it's kind of late, around the 18th centuries, but at least they made a society and they tried to set up their one, right? One of the missionaries is John Eliot, right? He ministered to the Anglican, the native, the indigenous people, Indians. Look at the Anglican people, so Indian people. He went there and he tried to preach the gospel there. And around 1663, he translated the Bible to their own language. It means that he learned their native language, right? And then later on, he kind of established kind of a community for teaching and fellowship and try to see try to get accountability. Just think about they said, we preach the gospel and people, I wanna become a Christian, and then sometimes if they stay in the community, it's hard to follow, it's hard to practice the Christianity, right? Just think about it in the Islamic countries. They are mostly more than 98% are Muslims, right? And then just think about when you convert to Christianity in the countries, and then you cannot tell to your parents, you cannot tell but sometimes just keep yourself, keep the faith inside you by yourself. You cannot say anybody. It's not easy to be survived, right? I think at that time it's kind of the same situation in Native Americans, and then he made kind of own kind of Christian community. Keep teaching them and keep kind of have encourage them, right? Okay, you gotta be a Christian in the way, and then kind of taking the accountability to check each other one another, right? But even though he tried to he translated the Bible and he tried to teach them, but it's kind of he's not teaching the kind of people in their context. Context. Somehow he kind of bring them out of the community. They made their own community, right? So it's kind of the community is kind of a mixed. People are native people, and the leading and the teaching people are white, the missionaries, right? It's kind of different. So. Nowadays, we did a lot of mission in their way. Just think about I know that just think about Korean and a lot of missionaries came to Korea and then they established churches, but it's not the exact same like this. And but they, yeah, yeah, they wanna raise local leaders in the what, and they bring them to their compound and then they teach them and let them go, and sometimes they live together. And then when they grow and kind of made a connection to their homeland and send them to the country, and then church providing scholarship, all things, and take care of the student, and then let them study there in the country and go back to their country, right? That is one of the way. But there is a lot of debate there. So it's a desirable way or not, right? Maybe we can talk next time if we have a chance. One is in North America, David Brainerd. He was passionate man for the reach out to people to the mission. But look at his life. He born 1718, but he died 1747. It's like 29. Yeah. At the time, he influenced by the revival preaching of the George Whitfield. That was in America, it's a great awakening. So a lot of preachers came from Europe, and then America, it was England and British, and then preached the gospel, and people are turned to the Bible and Christianity with the repentance, and then a lot of people there is and revival movement in America around the 1730s, 40s. That's what we call the Great Awakening, right? George Whitfield is really, really powerful, itinerant, he go this way and that and moving around the country and preach the gospel, right? He was influenced by him, and then he didn't finish his college. Yale College is really, it's established early, and then he became itinerant like George Whitfield among the indigenous people, and the native Indian peoples, right? But unfortunately, sadly, he died around 1747, at the age of 29, by tuberculosis. So he impact on the Delaware Indians in New Jersey, in the East Coast, but his life was very short, right? But even though his short period of life, and then he impact a lot of people, because at that time it's a great leader of the Great Awakening was Jonathan Edwards. There was David Brainerd, he's a son-in-law. That's why there is a relationship, and Jonathan Edwards and then supported his son-in-law missions, right? And later on was Jonathan Edwards published the Brainerd journals, and then later on, this one is influenced a lot of people who became missionaries, like William Carey. He is an Indian missionary, right? And Henry Martin too. They influenced a lot by the David Brainerd's journals, and then they got inspired, and they willing to become missionaries, and they did pioneer in Protestant missions. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to understand, right? Just think about, I don't know, what they have a passion and smart, and they want to do something for kingdom of God and for God's glory. And then like this, David Brainer's kind of he passed away very in his early ages. But we think it's why, we couldn't ask why, but still after he passed away and still influenced others, right? It's amazing, amazing. Look at, yeah, so that's why kind of, yeah, because of the Anglican, yeah, Anglican churches formed the Mission Society, and then what? The Great Awakening impact on the, yeah, the American churches and peoples, and then start to reach out to the native peoples, native, yeah, indigenous people are Native Americans, and then and what is it, slave, yeah, African slaves. That's why, yeah, the mission started in North America, right? And what about Indonesia? Indonesia is kind of, yeah, it's a little bit different. They are influenced under the Dutch, Netherlands, and then the one of Hugo Grotius, and then he came with the what? People, kind of, yeah, the one of the company people, and Dutch, yeah, and then he, yeah, came to Sri Lanka and Indonesia, and then actually he came to uh, kind of take care of their own people, right? But later on, he found a seminary school in Indonesia, and um, he kind of discipline and teach students, and then send out to the other island of the, yeah, Indonesia. So yeah, it's a lot of island, right? And around 1668, kind of a New Testament translated, and then by the time in Java Island, it's around 100,000 believers were there. And also, Ambon Island is about 40,000 Christians were there, believers were there. But just think about it, even though, I don't know, it just started early, but still the country is what? The largest population of Muslim, right, in the world. And China and other countries and Japan, and somehow they had kind of a good relationship with, yeah, had a very good relationship with the political leaders, and then they started a church, and they got a lot of, yeah, believers. But somehow kind of the, yeah, the political power changed, and what? Suddenly they disappeared, and they lost the power. Just think about around the 17th centuries. I know already Muslims kind of, yeah, Indonesia is a Muslims under the Muslim, yeah, Islam's influence. But still, a lot of people came to church already. But I don't know how to grow in the countries. There's a lot of barriers, obstacles, right? What about India? India is kind of, yeah, from the early years, yeah, we already talked about, and from the, yeah, early Christianity and birth, and yeah, was, yeah, birth, and then what, and then one of the one kind of tradition said it was one of the disciples of Jesus Christ and went to Thomas and then went to in India and then teach the gospel and then like this. But around the 16th and 17th century, and pietism is kind of introduced in Indonesia, like Drangkebar. That's introduced pietism. Pietism is introduced, and then what is the pietism is kind of England kind of Spencer started, and a lot of church used to doctrines, and they follow the doctrines, and then kind of turn kind of nominal. Not everybody. But sometimes, we institutionalize, and then, we are really kind of raised by the doctrines, and then sometimes we know the knowledges, but sometimes they don't show their identity through the Bible and through their actions, right? And then pietism is kind of started in Anglican churches and then by Spencers, and then they really wanna focus on the prayer, focus on the study Bible, and then try to live with moralities in their faith, right? With faith, in their faith, right? That's a pietism. So they don't emphasize much doctrines, but they pray a lot, but they study Bible a lot. Maybe theology and doctrines, and they are organized by a lot of scholars from the Bible, but beyond that one is kind of helping you understand the Bible, but they wanna study Bible in order to apply the Bible into their life, right? And try to listen to God. So they try to listen to the Holy Spirit, the Spirit. That's the kind of pietism, right? And they are kind of pietism introduced in India, and like the king by king, and what is it? The two missionaries and sent by the king. So Bartholomew and another was Heinrich, right? And two people are kind of sent to Trankebar. Right? There was a king. What is it? Who? What is the king? Frederick IV. That's why they got there, and then they tried to translate the New Testament to the Tamil, one of the Tamil language, right? In 1714. Yeah, it means that they learn the local cultures, they learn the local language very well, and then that's why the two missionaries are really focused on contextualize the Western Christianity was a Lutheran Christianity to Indian forms. Just think about one of the examples. Just think about it, and the Asian cultures are really communal, right? Biblical cultures are really communal, not independent. It's really collective. That's why we really emphasize we and community and groups, not individuals, right? They want to try to do that, but they cannot kind of they couldn't get out of kind of an individual conversion. Just think about gospel is always emphasize person on person who responded to the gospel, right? Kind of individualistic. It's not a group. But when you see the Christendom and then when king converted to Christianity, whole people are kind of, whether it's voluntary or forcibly turned to Christianity, right? And I don't think at the time that they don't understand the Indian culture very well. But they try to do, but there is a caste system, right? It's a totally, it's a totally different from their culture and it's hard to understand, but there is a caste system, right? That's why some, different, there's a top caste, was a Brahman cannot get along with what? All the way bottom and other people, right? But one thing, their contributions were to establish schools, and they really wanna provide education, general education and theological education to establish local leaders, right? Raise the local leaders. That's why that's their really big contribution in Indian missions. So later on, the Church of England formed a society for the propagation of Christian knowledge. So the England churches they provide the tracts, material for missions, and then a lot of small books, and then kind of copy and made and sent to the missionaries, and then they try to help the missions. Just think about it, little by little, and even though it's not a big thing, and you cannot go to the kings and you cannot go to political leaders, but just think about the Christian mission is a little bit different from what? The Catholic missions, right? They don't use maybe some of them, they use their momentary, kind of a power and material power, and sometimes they use the political power, but it's a little bit less than the other, right? And another Christian was Friedrich Schubert, and where's the Bartholomew Lomas, and then they finished what? The New Testament, and then the Frederick he finished the Old Testament. So around in the middle of the 18th century, Indians have the complete Bible translated in their language, right? I know it's not one language. I think it's a Tamil language, right? There is Urdu language, there is Hindi, and a lot of different languages, and and he also strived to contextualize the gospel in Indian context, and he planted a church in Tanjore. About at that time, it's 2,000 believers in the countries, right? That's why if you go to certain part of India, and then a lot of Christian community are formed, and then a little bit northern part, certain part is there, but that's why I have a friend who came from the southern part of India, right, and then his last name is kind of different from usually they don't follow they don't follow their kind of weird. We follow the father's last name usually, right? That's my culture, and here too. But I have Indian kind of friends in my church, and then I asked him, how can you get the last name? And then his last name is kind of different from what? Their parent last name. No, I mean that their children's last name is going to be different from their parents' last name. Usually, they take the last name and then his children take his first names, first name as a last name. He said it, so kind of weird, And my friend is kind of his last name is Jacob from the Bible, but little bit. That's why if you see the kind of Indians and then their last name is John and George and a lot of different, but they follow different way. Just think about your parents. First name is John. The kids and last name is John, right? Kind of changed. Yeah, that is a kind of mission India's and by the missionaries from England, Church of England, the Anglican churches, right? They did. What about little bit different way? There's another movement. Mission movement is there. There is the kind of we call the Moravians. Moravians, and then they live in Eastern Europe, is the Czech and Poland around there, and around there is kind of their communities there, and it's the Moravian mission is kind of they communities called was Unitas Fratrum. Fratrum is kind of unity of the brethren. They have a unique kind of church communities, and it's founded by Count Nicholas Ludwig von Zinzendorf, right? Zinzendorf is around, he's one of the founder. I'm gonna tell about little, I'm gonna tell about him a little, and then was a Count Ludwig von Zinzendorf. Zinzendorf was born into very wealthy noble families. Belonged to one of the most ancient of the noble family in Austria. He's really he has really good background, right? But after he born in 6 weeks, and his father passed away because of the tuberculosis, and mother remarried, and then when he was 4. So actually, kind of he sent to his grandmother. She's really pious Lutheran Christian. So that's why his grandma influenced a lot on him to shape his characters and faith. And so he grew up with regular times of prayer and Bible reading and hymn singing and kind of stuff, right? So around, but he grew up in the kind of a really religious and background, but he left to Austria for what? His college education, right? And then he went to college in Germany, and this Wittenberg, and then he during the college year, and then he participated in a student group, so called Order of the Grain of the Mustard Seed, and then the organization, the group is kind of celebrate taking the gospel to the nations. So people get together, and then I think so they pray, and they talk, discuss about how we can take the gospel to the nations. That kind of group he got involved in, right? And he married, and then it's kind of he married, and then his friend's sister, and she's a strong Christian too, and believers, and really devoted to pietism, right? They don't much emphasize on the doctrines, but they really emphasize on life as a Christian, right? Life as a Christian, so pray and Bible study and kind of morality kind of stuff, right? And that time, and usually the country around there is it's okay, and then there is kind of there is under influence of the rest of Protestant, and then the new king came, and then persecuted the Christians, and then some of them is kind of fled to Moravian area. So one man came to knock the door, and his name is Christian David, Christian David, and then he told Jinzendorf, okay, God told me that you gotta make community, right? And then he started a kind of a house. We called home, and Hornhut, and then for the refugees. So they started to the refugee here, and then a lot of people are kind of moving from here, and then that is a kind of the Moravian community churches started. Church was started, and then people are coming, and also it's a kind of they have a different doctrines and rituals, and then there's kind of disharmony a little, and then they kind of settle the harmony, and then they have their own way. So around and 1725, and they kind of started, and then around 90 Moravians had settled at the hut, and then late 1726, and then population is kind of growing up to 300, right? That's and then they started a kind of community, and look at this, and then that's a kind of started community, and then but the Zinzendorf has a really kind of a heart for the missions, and then look at this, and then they're one of the very famous the ministries kind of the around the clock prayer meeting lasts for 20 hours and lasts for more than 100 years. Yeah, since they formed the community, and then so far it's more than 121, yeah, more than 120 years. Every 24 hours, and kind of taking different groups taking the time and kind of chain prayer, 24 hours, they never stopped. Right? So we Christians believe that prayer has power, right? And then that's one of their unique things that they really emphasize on prayer. And around 1732, started sending out the missionaries. And usually, I read some articles, and they willing to become a kind of slave to go to countries. They willing to learn some artisan work like this and any carpenter anymore to live there to support themselves. Not nowadays like okay, we send a missionary and church kind of before you go out, and can you help support me and then raise the support and go and towards the sponsors and keep donate money to your missionary living. Not ever. So when they go to other countries and they continue to use their skills to support themselves and support their families. It's a kind of I don't know how when they come back to their countries or what, but when they leave the country already they are preparing the way for their missions. So just think about 1 out of 60 served as a cross-cultural missionaries. Every 60 people send one missionaries. Maybe we cannot see nowadays, right? It's to really mission-oriented communities in the 17th century, right? 18th centuries. So they went to the East, West India, and Greenland, and North America, and Suriname, and then South Africa. It's kind of they went to some countries, right? Well, who can say how many people went there? And then look at this. To get close to African slaves on the sugarcane plantation in St. Thomas, John Denver, and David sold themselves and captured as indentured servant. Just think about it. Can you do that? Oh, I want to reach out to people, they are slavery. I willing to become like them. In America, they established a discipleship community in Pennsylvania, but was massacred by the patriotic troops during the American Revolution. Right? I think they sacrificed a lot for missions. They did a lot of stuff. Right? Another big contribution is the Moravian had a great impact on John Wesley, who became acquainted with a group of Moravian. So also John Wesley is kind of he is a priest of the Anglican Church. So he is sent to America to take care of the people, settlers, and then he stayed in Georgia and take care of the people, settlers. And then when he returned to England again in the war, he met the Moravians on the ship, right? and then kind of a rough sailing, and he got really scared. But the Moravians kind of asked him, and like this, and are you saved? Yeah. So he was thinking about it, and do you have faith, and are you saved? And he was thinking about his faith, and then from the time, and then because Moravians has a kind of assurance of salvation. Okay, I have a faith in Christ, and if I die right now, and I'm okay because of my faith. But also John Wesley doesn't have a kind of faith, and from that time, he's a great man to influence on the people in Anglican Church, and later on he came out of the kind of Anglican Church, and he made kind of their own denomination we call the Methodist, right? And Methodist, and then they really focus on their foundation is pietism. Yeah, and like this, and Moravians showed a really simple faith. They don't use a lot of apologetics, right? But they have assurance of salvation. Okay, if I am dying right now, I can go to heaven. I can be with Jesus Christ. Like that's why they are not scared, they are not feared of the situation, and they're willing to become a slave. They're willing to go to other countries, right? That's why, and John Wesley is kind of influenced by their confidence and piety and assurance of faith, right? And then he made kind of Methodist denominations. So a lot of people followed, and really popular in England. Still, they have here. And John Wesley, he wrote that I went to America to convert the Indians, but who shall convert me? Who is that? Who is he that will deliver me from the evil heart of unbelief? He's kind of he realized he doesn't have a very strong faith, and then by the Moravians, right? And look at this. He said the moral and spiritual fervor of the meeting is expressed, in one way, one of the Wesleyan's most famous aphorism. Look at this kind of foundation he got it, and he said, do all the good, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, and all the times you can, and to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. That's a kind of influence. He set up a kind of his own standard to follow in following Jesus Christ. So the pietism is not based on the intellectualism. They just follow the way that to look into yourself in prayer, and then through the Bible study, and through your morality, right? And then live and follow Jesus Christ. Kind of it's not just intellectual Christians. Okay, so the Moravians followed the call of the Lamb to go. Yeah, call of Jesus Christ to go and preach the gospel in all nations. Look at this, their motivation. They said the simple motivation of President for sending missionary to distant nation is the ardent desire to promote the salvation of the fellow man by making known to them the gospel of our Savior Jesus Christ. They're really simple. They don't do a lot of stuff, right? They really emphasize what? The gospel. Right? They don't build schools. Yeah. They don't do a lot of different things, but they really do come evangelism to preach the gospel to the others, right? That is the basic motivation, though. Yeah. And a lot of people say that different way, the characteristic of the Moravian missions. Here is one that the main figure were in the evangelical emphasis, open to God's guidance, right? And was evangelical emphasis open to God's guidance and stress on the Holy Spirit as mother, and teaching on the sacrament and life centered on Christ, especially in the context of West Indies, and the Moravian met most slaves. Mission were associated with the suffering. Just think about it. They really tried to reach out to marginalized and alienated in this society. Who are they? At that time, they are the what? They are the slaves, right? I know nowadays a lot of we try to reach out to people really marginalized and who are struggling with life in inner cities, and then but we gotta learn something from the Moravian mission. And another scholar said that they really Christ-centered message. They preach about gospel, right? And dependent on spirit, like totally dependent on spirit, and kind of the spirit guide you and teach you and just to follow. They really have a forward prayer commitment, like a 24-hour, more than 100 years. They will emphasize on pietism, not the knowledge, but heart and deeds, right? And contextualizations kind of smear into their life to become like them and then serve in their ways. Tent making, mean that they support themselves by their own skills, right? Not rely on the churches and not rely on the sponsors. So a lot of people are not those. They don't have seminary degrees, and they're not trained in schools. Well, they are laymen, but they have a passion to share the gospel. So 1 out of 60 are the missionaries, right? They are really committed to missions, and they try to they are seekers to search someone who needed gospel, not just waiting and there. They try to try to find someone who needed Jesus Christ. It's a really not just sitting there. No, someone is coming and I'm gonna engage with them. It's not like that. And you gotta actively try to find someone who needed Jesus Christ and engage with them, right? It's a really simplistic, right? They have a simple life. They don't have not many tools. They go and live there and live like there and then try to reach out to people, right? That is a big, one of the big community, mission community for the Protestant. And then nowadays we can learn a lot of stuff from them, but nowadays I don't know. But nowadays it's totally different from what they have done past, but still, they made big history for Christian Protestant missions. So Zinzendorf, he died around 1760, and he devoted on the Christian cross-cultural missions for 25 years, right? By the time Zinzendorf died, and he sent out around 226 missionaries, and it's 10 different countries. It's a lot. Just think about small province, right? Community. And they established mission stations in, here is kind of places, and established in Danish, India, in Danish, St. Thomas in the West Indies, and Greenland, Georgia in North America, and Lapland in Suriname, and Dutch Guinea on the north coast of the South America, and Cape Town, South Africa, and then Elmina, Dutch headquarters in Golden Coast, and Demerara, and now knows Guinea, Guyana in South America, and to the British colony island of Jamaica, and then Antigua in think about how many lot of places are the slaves are there, right? A lot of places like South America, Africa, and then Jamaica and Antigua, a lot of places. So at that time it's like 49 men, 70 women serving in 13 stations around the world, ministering to the over 6,000 people, right? It's a lot. Just about the station is kind of missionaries, a little bit, the work is different, right? And station is a little bit different from the Okay, just think about who are the missionary in the early modern missions, Christian missions. Still, for the Catholic churches, monks, right? Franciscan and Dominican and Augustinian monks. Still, they committed to poverty, and then kind of going around and try to preach the gospel, and sometimes kind of the order is kind of permitted, kind of admitted, and then they kind of whenever they go and they kind of build up their own monastery, and try to work for missions. And later on, there is a Jesuit. It's another order of from the Catholic churches. They are really, really kind of border for missions. Last time we saw them, they committed to missions and Pope's orders, and then they did a really good job. But one of their strategies was contextualization. Try to become like kind of the native people, indigenous people. But Pope Pope didn't like it. And then like in 1773, they kind of closed down the Jesuit kind of order. But later on, around and 40 years later, it's 1914 kind of restored the order, but last 40 years, and then they lost their power, so they couldn't come back like before. Actively involved, they couldn't actively involve in mission like before, right? That is a main kind of a migrant to the other countries and work for the people, right? What about the Protestant? Like the North America, and then there was Anglican and England church was sent the missionary to America, right? There are pastors, chaplains. Who else? Moravians. They are laymen, right? They don't have a formal education like that. Others. By them, and they kind of was for the Protestant, and they started a kind of mission from the 18th centuries. But Catholic, kind of extension of the Middle Age, and keep going and with the political powers, right? What do they do when they go to other countries? For Catholic churches, when they sent out the bishops, and they had connected with the leaders, right? The country leaders, they somehow had a lot of use of political powers, like in China and India and Russia, and right. And that's why, because of the political power, the kings and then they got the favor, and then it's easy to people to turn to Christianity, or they with the kind of favor, and with their favor, and they can freely work with the native people, right? And we can see that a lot of missionaries, and then in whether Catholic, whether Protestant, and they try to learn their cultures, right? And they especially increase the Protestants, and then they contextualize the gospel to their own culture, right? But Jesuit, and you can see that, and that's why they extremely contextualize to other culture, and they kind of dissolved for a while by the Pope, right? Nowadays, one of the big issues is contextualization, though. I already told you, and then I'm a Korean American, right? you guys are maybe not yet, but I'm a Korean American and I'm influenced by the Korean cultures mostly. But I'm educated by what? Western way, right? In seminary school and college. And here, I have my own things in my faith. Just think about it, the biblical culture is there, and then there is people's culture is there, right? Then just think about how can we bring the gospel, the word of God, to the people who live in their life, in not our way, in their way, but their ways, right? That's a contextualization, though. Try to kind of preach the gospel in their environment, in their context, not our context. That's a contextualization. But when you contextualize the gospel, one thing we gotta remember the what? Syncretism. Syncretism is the what? There is a kind of two different things. The gospel is here, and there is a local cultures here, and mixed together, and then create different things. That's a syncretism. Create different things. It's not synergic effect, right? That's why we try to contextualize, because if we explain the gospel in their culture, and then people kind of understand it easily, right? That's why we try to figure it out, similar cultural stuff, and then each explain the gospel in the way. Not just we don't understand the culture, just tell the kind of gospel to them, and then they're not going to understand, right? What about they evangelize and they try to build up the local leadership, and that's ways about school, right? That's why, and they raised the local leaders and they set apart for the leadership, and translated the scriptures in the same way that other, and it's especially for Protestant in the what? It's emerging from the what? Spiritual awakening. It is, I already told you, in 1700, and then what? So a lot of people, not 1800, 1730, 40, and a lot of people, and kind of renewed their heart to come back to God, and kind of all movement together, and influence, and then impact on them. And next, around 19th centuries, mid late 19th centuries, and another kind of D.L. Moody's, he's itinerant and evangelist, and then he did a lot, and another awakenings there. And then a lot of people devote themselves, commit themselves to missions during the time. Like this. We kind of go over around 1500 to 1700, the end of the 1700, right? So how missionary, there's kind of a religious migrant, like refugee migrant, and then how they move to another country and kind of influence them by the gospel, or with the gospel, right? And so they can try to establish a Christianity in the countries. But a lot of countries like European countries and Eastern Europe, and then still they have kind of just think about it, and Christianity is growing around there and all the way, right? But a lot of countries like China and Japan and India still a certain part of it is really uh, still remain in Christianity, but other parts like we consider was Hinduism, and then the radical Hinduism like burned in churches and burned people and persecuted people, so like that, right? And kind of there is a religious war nowadays, and if you go to um, Islamic countries, you know, ISIS, what happened, right? A lot of killed a lot of Christians, and they try to establish the country like a caliphate, right? Yeah, they like a Christendom, and then they wanna do like this, yeah. So it's like in Turkey, and then Malaysia is one of the countries that kind of government is very strongly control whole system they put together, right? Yeah, it's like a Christendom and Muslimdom. I don't know. There's no word. I don't know. Yeah, and but yeah, even though people are moving and moving and moving, and then wow, still a lot of people don't haven't heard about the gospel, right? That's why nowadays a lot of missionaries are still moving out, but nowadays, we have a lot of people agree with that, and because of COVID-19, and we are facing different kind of phase of the missions, the church too. So we cannot travel freely like before, more than years, right? I used to go to Mexico a lot, once a month and every summer, but because of COVID, and I cannot go. Yeah, I got vaccinated, and then I can go nowadays. Yeah, and it's not easy, right? Kind of your population, Corona kind of impacted the population is growing, and other countries and variant came out, and people are really scared, right? And a lot of countries kind of they don't extend their visa status, and then they let them go back to their countries. So if you go travel to other countries, like Korea and Thailand, and then you need to do 2 week quarantines. You have to pay. you don't know someone there, and then you have to pay. And like Thailand, and then my friend went back to Thailand, and then from the airport, and then was the officer guided him. He covered with his body with the plastic clothes, and then to the hotel. So the expense 3,000, 4,000, so you gotta pay for it, right? There is a mission. So through the time, the Protestant they came out, and they are not really focused on mission, but still, around the 18th century, it's kind of a movement, mission movement started, and then and little by little, and then with more Moravian community churches kind of really active on missions, right? And then, but still, Catholic churches, and then they do a lot of things. And if you see that, I don't know, it's in California, and kind of there is a missions base, and in Santa Barbara, and like the Hospital, and then there's a lot of missions and churches, and there's they try to send out the and bishops and monks or whatever, and then they build a kind of their own compound, and then try to reach the community. So we call the missions. Because of my kids, and then they have a project to visit the mission, and then you will learn about the report. And then I went to Santa Barbara and Juan Caspirano. Yeah, Caspirano. Yeah, I went there. Yeah, they have a big compound there, right? Like this. Yeah, they still doing the mission in different way, and then they still, there's a lot of missionaries going out. Still, America is one of the countries who's sending out a lot of missionaries, and then Brazil and Nigeria and Korea, South Korea, and then they are sending out a lot of missionaries, and then impact on the society and people, right? That is the missionary movement nowadays. But nowadays, kind of just to see, Christianity is kind of the access is kind of switched from Western to majority countries. Not the we usually said developing countries, but they are now. Some countries are already developed, but it's not Western countries, and still they are struggling with about Christianity is growing and more population than the Western countries. The Western countries about Christianity is kind of decreasing, but still there. Still there. A lot of people still work, and still, when you go other countries, and missionaries coming from other European countries, but a lot of majority countries kind of underestimate their their commitment and their kind of zeal for gospel, right? And so this period, we gotta know that around 1500 to almost 1800, and then the gospel kind of spread to the Russia and Eastern Europe and India and China and Japan, right? And in Indonesia. So already was the Russia is kind of the Orthodox Church influenced by Eastern Europe, Eastern the churches, and then today we saw that's why there is kind of Orthodox Church, and Eastern Europe is kind of it's Orthodox Church where Catholic is really Orthodox Church is really kind of populated, and for Protestant kind of Indonesia we saw that, and then India and in North America, and not popular around the time, maybe in the next era we can see how kind of powerfully exploded to into the missions, and then next era we can see that one around the 18th century, 19th century, and 20th century. 21st century is still different stories. So and so we went over all this stuff, and then you gotta really focus on that. You gotta know that the Moravians mission movement, they're really unique, right? They really a lot of laymen right now, like they don't have any theological education, but they already really kind of smeared into their society like them, to be like them, right? Contextualized, and then they willing to become like them. They were really interested in the marginalized people, right? Like slavery. Okay, so today we're gonna start here, and next week we're gonna have modern era of missions, like 18 to 2000, and then after the week, and then another majority and around 21st century, so we can see that one. So All right, you guys, and then take care of yourself again. And I hope you will have a really great time. And then as soon as possible, if you want, and then you can get vaccine and then vaccinated, and then more freedom you can get. And then, but still, you gotta be careful. Okay. Okay. Have a great week, and see you next time.